it's not a big problem. But if at a place where originality is expected from me, and there I quote somebody's quote without acknowledging, that is called plagiarism. And this definition I like. There is another definition by Fishman, and he also used a lot of the some five parts he have given. That is the use of words, ideas, or products attributable to another identifiable person or source without attributing the work to the source in a situation where there is a legitimate expectation of original authorship in order to obtain some benefit, credit, or gain which need not to be monetary. So there should not be, like always, it should be monetary benefit only. Any kind of benefit or credit or gain comes under plagiarism. So sometimes people say that academic plagiarism is a theft, but in my opinion it is not a theft, because theft involves deliberate attempt to enter somebody's property. Sometimes, because always plagiarism is not deliberate effort, so it cannot be said that it's a theft, but yeah, it can be sometimes, because sometimes it can be unintentional also, so it cannot be called as a theft. So, like for example, authors sometimes they forget to give citations, give acknowledgement to the source. They were well aware they should have to give, but they forget because of some N reasons. And there is one psychological memory bias also called cryptomnesia. It states that we unconsciously attribute foreign ideas as our own. Sometimes we hear something from somewhere, and after some time we make it as our own idea, and we forget from which source we have taken. So such kind of unintentional plagiarism also exists. Then there are some literal plagiarism, that is that comes under two parts. We can say copy and paste plagiarism, C&P plagiarism, where just copy and paste it. And then shake and paste plagiarism, where we copy, shake it. Shake it means like a juice. We put some 3-4 juices, mango, orange, and everything, and then shake it. Then it becomes some new juice. So we are not changing anything, but just mixing. Shake and paste means cutting, pasting, but in a manner where the contents are placed at different places, not in that order from which we have copied. Then there is called disguised plagiarism. In disguised plagiarism, we call it as paraphrasing also, but without acknowledgement. If we are paraphrasing and not citing, that is also plagiarism. And then technical disguise. Technical disguising means this is a common practice. What people do that they write in a different font, and they insert in white font between the words some text with the white font. Okay? So that if the plagiarism detection software or similarity matching software, they will come across the word, they won't, because that is computerized based, so they will also analyze the text that is written in white color also. So the particular word will change. For example, if I am writing friend, and in between I have put some 2 white spaces, and in each white space, in another font, in white font, I have put some C and D somewhere. So that particular word will change for a computer. For a human person, the print version, it will look like friend. But back in, there is 2 white, in white fonts something is written, so it will be difficult for a computer to analyze that. So that is called technical disguise. So homoglyph symbols that visually appear similar or identifiable, or inserting random letters in white font. Another important aspect in this technical disguise is going on these days in sciences, that is called image manipulation. So in sciences, what they do that, like for example in bioinformatics and microbiology, they conduct a lot of drug experiments on different species. So the effect of drugs, they analyze it and present it as a visualized maps. So what people are doing, they are copying the images from other papers and rotate it by some 2 to 3 degrees, so that the particular pattern will change a little bit, and then they publish that as their own results. But because now there are a lot of people voluntarily coming up, and they are analyzing each and every paper results, and using technology they come up with a kind of crowdsourcing they are doing, and they are trying to find out such kind of plagiarism. where image manipulation is done by scientists. And I should quote that at this place that from Lucknow itself, ITPR, lot of people, some 22 papers have been retracted because of the image manipulation scientists have done. So I will not go in the details of all those. Then the other kind is translated plagiarism, where the content from different other languages are translated and shown as their own work. This is also being detected these days. Then structural and idea plagiarism, where the outline, methodologies, lines of argument, research approach, experimental setup, and all these are just copied as it is. But here, in the structural and idea plagiarism, it is very difficult to identify, and only in extreme cases we call it plagiarism. Because in normal cases, some of the methodological parts, some of the experimental setups are always followed by several researchers for conducting similar kind of studies. But if an extreme case is being followed, if extreme level of copying is there, the arguments of the whole thesis is taken, and in your study, in another study, the same methodology is being followed, the same kind of discussions, same kind of arguments are given, the structure itself is also same, then we call it as plagiarism. So this is another. Then there is one called self-plagiarism. We often think that this is written by me, so to whom I am plagiarizing, it's my own ideas, I can use it at several places. It's not like that. You have to justify at every place why you are using your previous work. You have to justify that at this particular paper, why you are putting your last paper, or why you are using some your particular earlier writings. So it should be well justified. Coming to the cases of where academia have found plagiarism, and there are very big number of cases in India also reported. Like for example, Pondicherry University Vice Chancellor, Delhi University Vice Chancellor, then scientist, scientific advisor, and all other lot of cases are there. People usually quote in all these. In our neighborhood also, IIT, some cases were there from Kanpur. From Lucknow, lot of cases are there of plagiarism. I will not go in detail in all those cases. I would like to draw attention of this gathering towards why there are very few cases reported in the newspaper or media about plagiarism. So, three main reasons are there for the less reporting of the plagiarism cases. First is that usually the institutes or particular organization, they think of they do not want high level of retaliation from the accused. So what happens if you put some professor or some assistant or associate professor or a scientist under plagiarism, then their colleagues, their peers, they come up and form a group, and they try to make lobby against the organization. So most of the times what happens, that it depends on the stature of the person. How many colleagues are there in the institute that support him, and if there are few, then the case will be out, and if there are more colleagues behind, if he is a person, for example a pro-vice chancellor, or for example a dean, or for example a head of the department, then it becomes difficult that. Okay. So, and second reason is that proving someone guilty is very labor and time intensive task. It takes lot of efforts from the organization to prove that a person has plagiarized. Although proving that you are not involved in plagiarism depends on you. As per law, you have to prove that you have not done plagiarism. Not your institute has to prove that you have done plagiarism. And then another reason is that fear of losing credibility by the organizations. Organizations usually think that if something goes out, their credibility, their reputation, their image in the public will go down, their funding and other aspects from ministry, they have to write a lot of answers, question answer will be there. So that is one reason that very few cases come out. So seeing the above reasons, we can say that substantial number of plagiarism incidents are likely to remain undetected and academic plagiarism will remain an unsolved problem for academic world. So, since the time is not there, I had prepared also for how to do, what are the technologies that are being used for detection of plagiarism, but I will just go back, go to the places where how to avoid that. So, if we come to the avoiding part of plagiarism, basically we all live in copy culture. Copy culture means we learn, and copying is not a bad thing. Copying something is basically an evolution inherent inside us. It helps us for evolution. 90% of skills, whatever you have learned till date, you have learned by copying others. So it is not a bad thing as per se, if you talk about as an existence or survival of human beings. So what is the problem? The problem is that if we allow copying in the academia, then the generation of creation of knowledge will not be there. And also when we copy somebody, we actually only benefit what the academics get. They get reputation. They don't get money for publishing articles. Whereas for writing a 10-second copy content for advertisement, people get money in lakhs. But for writing 40 pages of research paper, faculty get nothing. So you can see the difference. So only thing that an academic get is that reputation, in professional reputation. And if I take somebody's idea and present it as that it is my own idea, actually I am killing his reputation. So that is why the plagiarism should not be allowed in the public, in the academia. So we are living in copy culture and expect the students to follow the highest level of academic standards. It is actually impossible. It is just like asking a fish to climb a tree. Just you remember in your childhood days, we teach children to write questions from book, directly copy question number 1 from here to there, question number 2, and it happens till the age of master's degree. Till masters, we don't teach students how to write your own content. How to write on WhatsApp, we just forward. How many of us write a single line of our own? So we are living in a copy culture where we just forward content that is written by somebody else, and that particular percolates when we come to the research arena. So what we have to do that for a researcher, I advise my colleagues and my research scholars that while conducting the literature review, you should not read the literature, but you should always reflectively read the literature. By reflective reading means you have to take active notes while writing the material. If you make your habit of taking notes, then always it will not be a problem to write original content. So while making notes, you can make your shortcuts, like for example, if you want something to be quoted, then you can put Q and write the quoted portion, so that while writing, you from the notes, you can just be well known that this is a quote. This I cannot write as it is. If you are summarizing something in your own words while taking the notes itself, put S there. Now this you can directly include in your writing part without having worried about the plagiarism part. Similarly, if you are writing something by your own while note taking, you put it as M or me or something like your own symbol you can use. So that tomorrow while writing, you won't be in a position, you will well recognize which portion is quotation, which portion is summarization, which portion is your own content. So quoting, paraphrasing, summarizing, these are all some techniques that we all are aware everywhere it is taught. Like just I conclude, sir, with some. Because I have not covered the detection part, so I am not covering the criteria for this similarity check software. So I will just cover what role librarians can play in this plagiarism, academic integrity and research ethics part. So first we have to understand the reasons why students or faculty plagiarize. We have to conduct small studies depending on the kind of users we have. We have to analyze their research behavior, how scholarly communication they make, what kind of peer pressure they have, what kind of publications they need to make, what is their promotion requirements and other benefits what they will get. We have to first analyze it and understand it very well. Then we have to also educate them the ways to avoid plagiarism. How they can avoid plagiarism? Many of them are not aware of the menace of plagiarism. They are not aware what is going on. They do not because this is very new thing for many research scholars or researchers. We have to make them aware about the penalties what are existing, what kind of punishments that are involved. We can also participate in the development and formulation of the academic integrity policy of the university or institution. So librarians have to come up, because I think at the moment in any university, librarians are the best people who have knowledge of plagiarism in any institute. Faculty do not know anything. They just always ask one question: how much percent is sufficient, sir? So because they are only aware, they just only want how much percent should be clear. So the nuances of plagiarism, how to avoid, what it is, how we can educate. So best persons, I think, is the librarians. And fourth, I would suggest them that we should conduct some established writing labs at our libraries. Research writing labs. I think some speaker before me also underlined this part, that we should the libraries should come up with research writing labs where they should formulate activities to strengthen the ways to write original content, especially for the research scholars, especially for postgraduates. And from the beginning itself, from the bachelor level itself, we have to inculcate habit of writing own content. I started in my classroom teaching, I started this thing, and it is very fruitful from the part of students that they say that this activity, I ask them to write 5 minutes in the beginning of class, 5 minutes, anything you want, but it should be your own content in any language you want to write. So with this, after 6 months, they always give good feedback. So with these words, I thank the chair to give me opportunity. I thank the organizers, Dr. Manish Bajpayee, to give me opportunity to speak in front of the learned professionals here. And thank you very much.